everybody. Welcome to the podcast. How are you doing?
Doing well.
Great.
Thank you both for joining me. I'm excited to have both of you on talking about some fun stuff today. Kendall, could you start by sort of just introducing yourself and telling us what you do for the Chronicle?
Yes, I'm Kendall Polidori, and I'm the co-editor-in-chief for the Chronicle.
And then Ryan, how about you?
Hello, my name is Ryan Rosenberger, and I am a staff reporter for the Chronicle.
Great. I've been looking forward to this episode. I've learned quickly as soon as I joined the Chronicle that you two were sort of our heavy hitters when it comes to all of our music coverage and everything related to music. And I personally have had a tumultuous relationship with music and more specifically musicians. I come from a family of musicians. I'm the only one who isn't a musician, and so there's a lot of animosity there that I've struggled to work through my entire life. So this is kind of like therapy for me, honestly. I feel like talking to you guys may help me out a little bit.
Oh, I feel the same way. My dad and my brother are both incredible musicians, and I just do not have the musical bone in my body.
Doesn't it hurt, dude?
It hurts, yeah.
I come from a musical family, but I am one of those musicians. So I'm.
Are you?
I have a cousin who's actually a film guy who actually just graduated from Columbia, and at every family gathering, I always get dirty looks from him. Because
what do you play, Ryan?
I am a jazz saxophonist.
You're a saxophonist?
Yes, sir, dude.
That's so sick, dude.
I actually went to.
I like the coolest instrument too.
Yeah. Actually, I was a music major. I was a jazz studies major for 3
Were you really?
semesters.
Oh wow, dude.
Hated it though.
Really?
I hated it. Yeah. So.
You like writing more about it?
That's what I was just about to say. I think covering it and writing about it's a little more up my alley.
That's rad, dude. So, that's so sweet. That was like the opposite for me. I used to do like film criticism, and then I was like, wait a minute, why write when you can just shoot?
Right. and you're doing it on the side now at the Chronicle.
There you go, bro. We're killing it, dude. Everything comes full circle. All right. I think we can sort of get into the first thing we want to talk about today. Kendall, you had a great suggestion for something that's been on your mind. You want to talk to us a little bit about it?
Yes. So I'm sure if people keep up with the Chronicle and actually, read my stuff, they would know that I've like been super into like writing about music. That was like a huge thing of mine. Just covering shows or interviewing bands and stuff like that. And that's definitely something that like I plan to do outside of college is, pursue music journalism.
Yeah.
But as I'm sure a lot of people feel with like their careers or the field that they want to go into, the pandemic has kind of put a hold on a lot of that. And I think, Ryan can relate to this too. Music journalism has changed a whole lot. Is specifically with like covering shows and stuff like that, or like doing reviews and like actually being there and feeling it. And like, that's like a huge thing for me. I haven't really written much about music since like March. I wanted to talk about like being in this rut as like a person who wants to be a music journalist and not really knowing like how to go forward with it or like what to pursue now. Because like the live aspect of music is so essential and so vital to like what I want to do. So
right. I know, Kendall, your coverage from, I noticed very quickly that your coverage is totally centered on what it's like to be there and like what the actual feeling of being at the concert is like. And I know, Ryan, you typically sort of seem to cover more sort of like album reviews and sort of things when you're listening to things being produced and you're listening through Spotify or whatever it is. Do you also feel that difference though, Ryan, and sort of in the scenes that you're involved with?
So I think, Jonah, I think what you said is really interesting, and you kind of hit the nail on the head. So I definitely think
thank you.
The main difference between Kendall and I is I noticed that you like the more live aspect of it, and it's not that I'm against that. I mean, I remember one of my first stories I did for the Cron was getting to cover the Isaiah Sharkey concert, and that's still one of the best experiences of my entire life. But I've just, I don't know, it's been really weird. I've just noticed that so outside of the Chronicle, my main gig has been I have my own blog on Chicago Now, where it's just my own self-serving musings on music and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
I just really haven't had any motivation to do anything with it, because I think it's because it's my own thing, though. Like with the Chronicle, I think seeing everyone else's energy and seeing how hungry everyone else is really helps me, just being a part of something bigger than myself. But when it comes to just doing it on my own and yeah, I don't know. I don't know what it is. I think it's just, yeah, I don't know. I don't even know how to answer that.
No,
You know?
I get you. I mean, honestly, that's how, I mean, when COVID hit, I feel like that's how everything sort of boiled down for everybody is there was this overall feeling, like there was this blanket of just like, it was this weird nostalgia for me, at least, like coming home. I always get weird when I come back home to the suburbs and like see my
Me too.
family because I come home and it's like wintertime and I think back in high school and then I like start hearing modern baseball or some shit.
Yes, sir.
Dude, that's so on point.
Dude, straight up, I listen, by the way, to sports when it came out. I was there before your graduation. OG pop punk
Ooh.
Midwest emo scene kid, and I can't do it anymore. But
Yep. Yeah, that's one of my topics.
yeah. Well,
But
see, and Kendall, I'm interested in this concert thing because I've always been I'm not a huge concert person, and I think it's because I've only ever been to like one good concert, and the one good concert I was.
what was it?
So I saw I had a pop punk phase. Everybody has a pop punk phase, and so I was really into the Wonder Years for a while.
Oh, dude.
And so
Okay.
I saw the Wonder Years. It was right when what's the album with Cigarettes and Saints? Do you know the name of it? It was like it had the blue cover, whatever.
Yeah,
But it was
it's
for
so
that
long
album,
ago.
and they were playing with one of my other favorite bands, Let Live, which is like a Los Angeles hardcore band. They're like another super cool punk band. And I this is in high school, and I was a sophomore, and I was dating this girl, and she made me leave halfway through the concert, and right in the middle of the Wonder Years' set, dude,
No.
and it was crazy.
What was her reason though? Like,
She wanted to go like get dinner with her mom, something like that, bro. I'm not gonna lie, it was rough. But and this is the same person that like after this, like a month or so after this, made me go to Warped Tour, and I had no interest in going to Warped Tour whatsoever.
I miss Warped Tour.
I don't miss Warped Tour
Never
at
been.
all, bro.
Oh man.
Warped Tour was the worst experience of my life.
Who did you see? What year did you go?
Dude, this was 2016. And there was one band I wanted to see. I want to see Real Big Fish, which is like a ska punk band. They're just like this quirky band. And the same thing happened where she made me leave halfway through the set. So ever since then, I've had like an aversion to concerts.
So basically, a girl just ruined concerts for you.
We're not there yet with the podcast, bro.
This is where I go to concerts alone. Like, when I cover stuff for the Chronicle or like any, because I used to write for other like music publications, like go to that stuff alone. Like it is an experience. Like
Really?
you're just like, I go right to the front and I'm just like vibing. And especially if I love like the band or the musician that's playing, I'm like, you're totally fine on your own. Like you don't have to go with people. And I think it makes the experience like so personal.
Yeah. Is that what it sort of is? And don't worry about the dog. You can bring the dog in. I'm sure that helped the views. Now, so is that what sort of helps? Do you think that helps your coverage at all, going to these things alone so you can like sort of immerse yourself fully in it?
Yeah. So I guess for me, music is such like a personal and like, it's an experience. So like being able to go.
Oh, she's cutting
Onto
out. There you are.
Can you hear me?
Could you repeat that? You cut out for a second.
Yeah, so music is just like such an experience for me, and especially if I like love the band or musician that I'm seeing. So like, I'm trying to think of a show that I covered, like Twin Peaks, for example. Like, everyone knows I love Twin Peaks, and like they're a Chicago band, and it's like being able to go to a show and like know that I'm there for work and like to analyze their performance and their music. It's like it's such a crazy feeling, and like I'm also a very like emotional person. So if I connect to music, like if I listen to a certain musician and I really love it and like I really connect to it, like I'll cry at a show. Like no doubt, I've probably cried at every concert I've gone to because I'm like, this is just so damn beautiful. Like
I wish, bro.
No, I get very emotional about it, and so that's why like the live aspect is so important to me, and that's why I've been in a rut because I'm like, how am I going to experience it the same, you know?
So now that scene is gone, have you covered, like, I know they're doing online concerts. What do you guys think about that? Is that like whack? Were you not into that?
I think, I'll let you go.
Okay. I don't know. So first off, I think it's, obviously during the staff meeting the other day, I informally pitched what Bottlenose Presents is doing with like their, I think it's bi-weekly shows.
Could you tell us a little bit about that just for background?
Yeah. So, what's her name? I think her name is Anya. She's a Columbia student, but she runs this. I don't know what exactly it is, but
It's like a
they throw
production
shows.
company.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
but they throw shows, and the last one, I actually saw a tiny bit of the last one. The last one was like a who's who of like all these awesome Columbia musicians that I'm sure a lot of us know. Like Mila Marina did one.
Mm-hmm.
Jess the Savior, I think, did a set. One other whose name escapes me. So I think it's really awesome that especially these DIY organizations are really trying to keep it alive during the pandemic, because it's like it's not safe to be at shows yet, you know. I've seen a few shows. I've been invited to some stuff, but I'm not gonna risk it.
You haven't gone to any of them?
No, I haven't been to a show since March, actually. Literally the weekend before the school shut down. I went to my last show.
Seriously?
Yeah.
But it's there's one more thing I wanted to say. Yeah, it's just not the same though, you know. And I remember when I did the drag show I covered a virtual drag show. I think it was my first story of the summer. It's kind of the same thing. I was like, I'm really enjoying this right now, and I think it's awesome that they're trying to keep this all alive. But it's not the same. But also that's still not good enough an excuse to just do it live, obviously, because we're still in the throes of this pandemic. I mean, it's nowhere close to being over.
Yeah.
You know, who knows when things will come back.
Right.
Yeah, I definitely have like the same feeling. I think I've only watched like one live stream, and it was like of my favorite band, Whitney, and like they did it like amazingly. Like they set it up like so cute, where they were like in matching pajamas and they were in front of a fireplace and they did like an acoustic set. And it was awesome.
That's kind of sweet.
Trying to get creative with it.
That's kind of dope.
It was really dope, but
awesome.
It's just not. It's not the same. You know, it's like I feel like I'm watching like a YouTube video of somebody performing, and like it's. Yeah, I think it's awesome that they're still doing it, because obviously a lot of DIY artists or like local, like smaller bands, like they get their revenue and they make a profit off of, you know, performing at live shows. So, you know, if they have to do what they have to do to kind of like, I don't know, sell tickets or like raise money for organizations, like by putting on these virtual shows, like I think it's awesome. I'm just not a regular person who tunes in, to be honest.
Kendall summed up my stance perfectly. That's exactly how I feel. Like, it's so amazing to see what artists and people who promote art through shows are doing.
Yeah.
You know, with this literally once in a lifetime era that we're in right now, but. At the same time, no, you know, it's just kind of not the same. I mean, I'm still going to show up and through my screen, of course, and support and, you know, help out artists when I can. But it's, again, I'm going to be blunt. It's just like Kendall said, it's not the same.
I've had a lot of my family members that are musicians have been doing stuff like that, just like online concerts, like Facebook Live or whatever. Like I got this Uncle Dave who's like this, I think he's 50. He's like this 50-year-old pudgy guy that looks like the Grinch. Dude, like he straight up looks like the Grinch, bro. Like it's tough, dude. All right, and he's from Buffalo, New York. He's a keyboard player. He's just he's a wacky dude, bro. Like,
I'm sorry, I had to mute myself for a second. I was laughing too hard.
You gotta understand. And he's okay if I talk about this. But when I first met my Uncle Dave when I was like 6, and when he walked in the room, I got so scared by the way he looked that I hid under my bed. I hid under my bed for hours.
He's okay with you saying this?
Dude, I've said way worse to his face. I hid under the bed for hours, and the only way he got me out is because I made him buy me a Lego set.
What a sweet man. And he plays the keyboard. I'm trying to learn the keyboard right now. So.
No, he's a great keyboardist. He's played with like Stevie Wonder and stuff like that. He's super into funk. You know, Buffalo's funk capital of the world. So he's into it. But he's been doing a lot of stuff like that online. You know, cool. Just like holding different concerts, and like he's having all of his different bandmates film themselves playing their instruments, and then they edit them together and all that and mix them and all that.
Yeah, I think that's really cool when like bands get really creative with it, and like they're in different like locations. You know. Yeah.
Cool. Do you guys think the concert scene is going to come back anytime soon?
No. and it irks me that people think it will, but like I don't know, if you just like look at the facts and like especially just like singing in general, like that, you know what I mean? Like
so
transmission, it's getting everywhere, and it's just like it's not reality. You know what I mean? It's something that I've seen. I haven't seen one in Chicago or anything, but I know my boyfriend, he lives in Colorado, and he said they've done like a couple of like drive-in concerts.
Yeah.
So it's like, which is cool. Like there's so like the musician is basically like, you know, like a drive-in movie, like the screen is like at the front or whatever. So it's basically like a stage setup, and then people can go and park their cars and like sit on top of like the hood and stuff, which is like, that's
I'd
cool.
be down for that. I may like that more than a regular concert, low key, because I don't like I don't like when people are close to me because I'm short and it's gross. People are drunk. You know what I mean, dude?
Yeah, no, I think it depends on like the type of music, because if I'm at a Twin Peaks show, like I'm in the middle,
you want to get in
I am in a mosh pit, but like
you mosh? You mosh, Kendall? You're throwing elbows, bro?
I'm short, so I get thrown around, but
dude, that's wicked.
Yeah. But like a Bon Iver concert, like I'll sit on my hood and like listen to that.
A Bon Iver concert, that's pretty funny.
Yeah, like something chill.
Yeah.
Cool.
Rad. Okay, all right. I think it's about time we move on because I'm trying to keep this thing on a better schedule this time. Ryan, you wanted to talk about sort of a rut that you've been in sort of your coverage recently, right? Do you want to talk a little bit more about that?
Sure. So I've been thinking about that while also bigness, because I just feel like I didn't really articulate my thoughts well enough before.
It's okay, it's early.
So I do want to kind of like re-mention again, like I kind of want to bring it back to March when we had that 3-week break.
Yeah.
And how like all I did when I wasn't doing Chronicle things was just listening to music. I was listening to I went through a week period where I listened to 101 albums from front to back.
Are you serious?
Yes. Yes. Like I was like I was barely sleeping. Like I felt this kind of spark was like reignited in me as a music fan. I was like, all right,
really? Wow.
If I can get anything positive out of this pandemic, let it be this.
Right.
But
I like that.
But you know, after a while, and normally I'm a person who listens to multiple albums a day. Like when I wake up and have my coffee in the morning, before I even check my phone, I pull up Spotify and put something on.
Yeah.
I kind of have my own like a nighttime witching hour where I'll listen to 2 or 3 albums on my own.
Witching hour.
Phone's on. That's But, and Kendall, I don't know if you've experienced this as well, but I was just listening to so much music that I actually just it kind of started to have a reverse effect on me.
You got burned out.
Where I got burned out as a fan. And I'm you know, and as a writer, because at the beginning of the pandemic, I was still doing more blog stuff. I was like, okay, I have time now. I'm going to do my Chronicle stuff and, you know, do this blog stuff and, you know, look into other freelance opportunities. But I think the root cause of my issue is that I've had so much time on my hands that I've actually grown tired of being a fan. And the other thing too is that I'm guessing I can speak for Kendall as well, is that like when you analyze music like in a constructive format where you have to write about it and think critically about it, you lose the ability to be a fan of it.
To a degree.
And
to a degree, yeah.
And because like right now, like
That's
when I started this blog, it's just like I'm a fan. I just want to cover good.
You just want to write about it, right?
I just want to write about it. It's for fun, no stakes, and you know. But I think I've just grown tired, and I've just gotten burnt out from having to think about everything so critically. And you know, when you have more time on your hands and you're in quarantine, you do that more.
Right.
And so yeah, I don't know. I mean, again, like you said, like my coverage more stems from like listening on Spotify and, you know.
I get you. Kendall, do you sort of agree with what Ryan was saying earlier? That point about not being able to enjoy it, you know, like as a fan alone, I think is really interesting.
Yeah, I've definitely felt that. It's something that I felt like why I've been in a rut as well with like music journalism is like I've lost the ability to feel excited about music, because when I listen to an artist, I'm like, dude, this song is going to sound so sick live, like, and I cannot wait to hear it. And so now, like, I mean, there's so many artists that I love that are coming out with like incredible music, but like I listen to it and I'm like, I'm blue. Like, I'm like, I can't even like enjoy it. You know what I mean? Like, but I definitely feel that like having to critically like sit down and listen to an album like fully, or like analyze a song and like all the instruments that are involved, like the lyrics, like just how a song is constructed and put together, and like the background behind how it was created and everything like that, like you definitely lose, like you don't want to enjoy it then, you know what I mean? Or you won't just put it on like leisurely.
Well, it's tiring, right? Because that's how I feel. Like, honestly, watching movies. I don't watch a lot of movies, especially not when I'm not in school. Because every time I watch it, I'm just like I feel like I'm at work. You know, my brain is like, how how they shoot this, where's the light coming from, all this stuff. I'm just digging into it. And like you can't
shut it off.
Right? Yeah. And you can still enjoy it, but there's always that voice in the back of your head that sort of nags. I think that's sort of just a you think that's an art school thing? I kind of feel like it is.
Yeah, I think it is, honestly. Okay. When you're literally going to school to analyze,
study this stuff, right?
Construct it, you can't shut it off ever, which is like a weird thing.
Yeah, I know, it's odd. Well, what have you guys been listening to recently that you've just been enjoying?
Should we move on to my quarantine, changing of genres?
Yeah. Actually, I want to hear more about that. Let's hear it.
Okay. Yeah, so Ryan, you could kick it off with what you've been listening to.
Oh, actually, my roommate texted me. I need to go do something like super quick. It'll take like 90 seconds. So I'll let you go first. I'll be right back.
That's totally fine. Don't worry about it.
I'll let Kendall kick it off, and then I'd be more than happy to, when I get back, answer that question.
Yes, so one of the topics I wanted to talk about was
the two of us.
Yep.
We can make it if we try. All right.
So during quarantine, I feel like my music taste has shifted just dramatically.
Yeah.
Like you were saying earlier, you used to be super into pop punk and stuff like that.
Don't bring me back to those. Stop talking about it, bro. You're exposing me right now, bro.
It's okay. Literally months ago, I was still into that, so it's okay.
I still listen to it sometimes. You listen to a Wonder Years album every blue moon, bro,
and it brings you back.
And it hits, dude. Yeah.
It definitely brings you back. But yeah, I was super into this more upbeat. I don't want to say aggressive, but you definitely put it on and you can't fall asleep to it. You know what I mean? It makes you want to get up and go.
Yeah, do
and
something.
So during quarantine, obviously not, especially in the beginning, not having anywhere to go and not being able to go out and do things.
Yeah.
I would put on that music and I'd be oh, I feel weird. I'm just sitting here. Why am I just leisurely listening to this? You know? And so, my music taste has definitely shifted, and I'm more of into folk and
oh man, that's
blues.
Where the Bon Iver came from.
Yeah, the Bon Iver. And then blues and soul, and I don't know, something that why I wanted to bring this up is because it's interesting that in quarantine, because we're so forced to be with ourselves and I don't know, really sit with our own thoughts. I've kind of my music taste has shifted, maybe because I'm understanding who I really am more.
Whoa, dude.
I don't know.
That's
right.
Dude, that's very Pinterest of you, bro.
I know.
Yeah, I don't know. I've been I feel what you mean about listening to music and that. It makes you want to go. I really like metal, and so I'm used to that. And I listen to a lot of that stuff while I'm not doing anything, which has always been odd for me. But I'm not the person you want to ask about music taste changing, because I honestly don't listen to music that much. I listen to music when I'm driving, pretty much exclusively.
I listen to it literally all the time. But
different.
But another thing, I think something that I've done so much, and I've always kind of done this, but especially in quarantine because I'm alone and I have nothing to do, nowhere to go. So I'm super into records and like listening to music that way on like my record player. So I have a bunch of vinyls, but like what I'll do is like I'll put on a good like folk vinyl, and I'll just lay on my hardwood floor and like stare up at the ceiling, listen to this album all the way through.
You're like astral projecting, bro. What is that, dude? Oh my gosh.
Just like, and I have a ceiling fan, I'll have it going, I'll just watch it. And I'm just listening to the music and like taking it all in. And like, that's what I've been doing.
That's kind of dope. That's kind of crazy. Ryan, you got anything like that you've been doing? Any seances or rituals?
Yeah, so
Oh god.
Oh no, he's got something.
He's got something
no,
good.
not a. I mean, I have good albums. Obviously, I've been listening to, but
Yeah,
during my my nighttime witching hour, like when it's dark out,
yeah,
I mean, I'm in the basement of my house, so like it's really everything's kind of dark down here. But
yeah.
when it's dark out, I'll just put my headphones on and turn my computer on and just throw something on Spotify, and I'll kind of do the same thing where I just stare at the ceiling. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or just
Dang.
flat out have my eyes closed. That's how I fall asleep most nights, actually.
Really? Oh
Yeah.
wow, it's like meditation.
It literally is. Yeah.
Wow.
Albums. Hold on. Let me pull up my Spotify right quick.
And Ryan, I know you said that you like right when quarantine hit, you were going to a little nostalgia thing, re-listening to all your favorite old stuff. What were you listening to?
Oh God, so much. So my favorite genre is jazz. Not a lot of people know that, but
I didn't know that.
I went through John Coltrane's entire discography, all 70 or 80 albums or whatever he's got. Yeah, no, jazz musicians have the longest discographies. It's
Seriously.
You know, Bill Evans, Miles Davis, Lester Young. Yeah. Obviously hip hop, you know, I went Earl Sweatshirt, Atmosphere, Mac Miller, freaking Kanye even, but lately
I've been waiting for somebody to drop the name Kanye in this.
No, I have a whole
Dude.
spiel on that later for the other topic. I have a whole Kanye rant I want to go on.
Dude, if you want a Kanye rant, this may be the time because I also have a Kanye rant.
All right, do it. Let's go.
This is my thing because this is how I feel about that. I also go through those phases where I'll just listen to all the old stuff I really, really liked in like high school or middle school or whatever it was. You know, for the playlist this week, I suggested it, and there was a Kanye song on that. But Kanye broke my heart. And this is kind of related to what I sort of wanted to talk about today. Obviously, it's not quite as severe or as important or serious as the actual topic. But the thing that I want to talk about today was what's been going on with the band SWMRS. And they just had a sexual assault allegation from Lydia Knight, right, from the Regrets. There's been a lot of stuff going on. And that I'm not a fan of the band. I don't know too much about them, but my girlfriend is a fan of the band. And she was letting me know that people were so angry because they had this image that they were like a woke feminist band, and like they preached those ideals, and they like really seemed to live by, that mentality. And then, this thing happens, and then they put out a bunch of other stuff, and it just feels super hypocritical. Obviously that's a very, very serious situation, but they got me thinking like about the ways that, a situation like that can really impact, the people that listen to that type of music. And like the very personal effect that can have on people. My situation that I brought up to mind was my Kanye West situation, which is when I was in middle school. In middle school, I was very, very depressed. Going through like elementary school, I wasn't in a good place, and then I started listening to Kanye West. I was like, wait a minute, dude, this guy really loves himself. And now, of course, I realize probably a little bit too much, right? But that really inspired me and helped me sort of get a lot of my confidence and stuff like that. And then, and I to give you some reference, I have given a presentation on Kanye West from the 7th grade until the 10th grade. All right.
Like
the 11th grade. So 4 years of presentations on Kanye.
Your heart is really broken.
And then I just see this guy crumble. But honestly, the thing that did it for me, dude, is he released The Life of Pablo, and it was garbage. It was a horrible album.
That's what did it for
was.
you.
I'm not even. I put up through all the Trump stuff. I put up through everything, and he released The Life of Pablo, and it broke my friggin' heart, dude. But then I'm thinking, if something like that hurts me, think about what something like the swimmer situation means, man. You know what I mean? It's crazy.
I have a lot of thoughts about that just in general, but like it's such like it's crazy because it's not a taboo thing, like boy bands, whatever, bands in general, like musicians, like that, it's such it happens so often,
it's so frequent, right?
And I think like the fact though that they the band really put themselves out there saying they are advocates and making this whole scene that they were in support of women or like whatever. And then it's a huge slap in the face to like see that they are actually, you know, well, who knows, it's allegations, but that they are actually doing that themselves. So it was like a whole, like, what the hell moment, you know? But I kind of had that moment with one of my favorite bands is Pinegrove. And a couple years ago, the lead singer was like caught up in some similar things. There were allegations against him.
Yeah.
And, you know, it all turned out to be, you know, true. And he actually, like, the band took a break for like a year and a half or so, I want to say. And he like left and got like treatment, and he was like honest about the whole thing, and like was really open about like where he was at, like mentally and stuff. And like, but that was like, you know, that's hard as like a huge fan, like, oh, should I listen to this music still? Like, is this okay? And then once they had like their latest album come out, a lot of what the songs on the album were about that situation, about growth, and about,
what's the name
like,
of this band again?
Pinegrove.
Okay.
Yeah, and so I mean,
that's really interesting.
Yeah. Another really extreme example, though, is R. Kelly.
Oh, yeah, right, exactly.
Through my reporting on R. Kelly, like, you know, the huge topic is, like, separating the artist from the art. But, like, a lot of what the art is what the artist does in their own time.
Yeah.
So, like,
yeah. It's a very complicated situation. I have always been on the side of, like, yes, you should separate art from the artist. But my more so thing with the swimmer thing is, like, you know, is all of that art like, can that art be apolitical? You know what I mean? Like, in the outside world that it exists in, and especially because it seems like the band was so upfront about that image of, like, trying to create a safe space for the people in their audience. And, like, let me share my screen. I have the Instagram post that they made, like a huge post. And these comments are hilarious. I mean, like, this is so hypocritical, aged like milk. This person said, be ashamed if you actually address the actions of your own members. You guys are a joke. Oof. But it's this massive post about the entire situation, and it has all these buzzwords and all this stuff in there. And then this last sentence feels so nefarious, like a message to our fans. Yeah, thank you. We love and appreciate you. We are here to listen and learn. And it just feels so fake, right?
Yeah, and it was. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, so, like, were you a fan of these guys, Kendall?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I definitely listen to their music, and I've seen them live at Riot Fest before.
Yeah.
I want to say their drummer is the son of the lead singer of Green Day.
Yeah,
so I was like,
right?
Yeah.
No.
So that's why I started listening to them. I wasn't like a diehard fan or anything, but they definitely had like fun, like cool music.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't listened to them since though, so I don't know if that like it's an unconscious thing. Right, just like I'm not going to put on music. But
Ryan, what's your take? Have you ever seen anything like this in your scene? I know you write a lot about like the Chicago hip hop community.
Yeah. So and you know, being so intertwined with Chicago's hip hop community is what kind of gives me very strong opinions on just issues of sexual allegations within or I don't want to call them out, like sexual misconduct within the music community. I believe hip hop is very much behind the curve, and it's really disappointing. Yeah, it's just really disappointing to say that because I think, you know, the allegations against what's Armstrong's name? I can never remember Billy Joel.
I don't know. Right? Yeah, Billy Joel. Is it Joey? This one?
Joey Armstrong. The allegations against him and there's another one of my favorite bands, the Frights. Mikey actually also.
Yeah, I saw that one.
That literally happened on the same day.
Are you serious?
Yes, it was a pretty tough day for emo / indie. Yeah.
Yeah. But bands,
I think the music industry in general is kind of in its very infancy when it comes to properly dealing with abuse. I mean, you know, even with R. Kelly, like we've known since the 90s that R. Kelly is.
And he's still in that sentence, dude. Like, oh, I'm gonna get infuriated.
Like this is nothing new. Like I knew when I was 9 years old. Like I went through an R. Kelly phase. Actually, I was 9 years old, and then I was kind of read online, even at my own young age, that, you know, he's a serial abuser. And I was like, oh yeah, no, not gonna listen to him.
Hard nope.
I just feel like the communication level isn't there. And, you know,
Yeah.
I mean, hip hop is historically a more macho genre, but I feel like in this
Yeah.
age with artists like Drake and Tyler and Kid Cudi, like artists like it's
A little more
not like
sensitive.
it's normal for rappers to talk about their feelings now. And,
Yeah.
you know, we have more women in the genre than ever before. I just think it's hard to gauge how prominent it is in the hip hop community. I
Mhm.
don't want to say it's rampant because I don't know, but I would guess it is because it seems like all the time there are credible allegations against
Yeah.
musicians across genres that are coming out all the time. So I think in the music industry we're still in the infancy of creating a culture where victims of sexual abuse can feel safe coming out with telling their story and seeking help right away. And I think we have a long way to go in terms of that, you know.
I was definitely going to say that. Like, I don't think it's a genre thing at all. It's like an industry thing across the board.
In general, it
seems like it's just an entertainment thing. You know what I mean?
Very possibly,
definitely. Yep.
It's in film, it's in TV, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
So, I mean, good that it's getting exposed, but bad that people seem to be going back and forth on what they actually believe when it comes to this stuff.
Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, SWMRS is definitely a special case because of the fact that
they
have been so vocal about standing up for issues of sexual abuse.
Yeah,
but
that's why. I'll be honest. When I heard about this stuff and I was talking about it with my girlfriend, my initial reaction was just like, well, you know, like I wasn't surprised at all. You know what I mean? Like I was like, okay, but that's also because when I hear about stuff like this, like what it does for me, and this is again, where we come full circle back to my deeply rooted disinterest and also distrust in musicians. But when I hear like another pop punk band or another punk band, wherever they are, another California punk band did something like this, well, I'm like, well, no shit. That's what that culture seems to be about. Of course, that's not true. You know, they're not about that, but it becomes very difficult for me to, you know, look at these bands and the people in them and you know, like the men that listens to these bands and be like, you know, you guys are different. I don't know. I know that's like a really biased way to view it, but it makes it difficult, you know?
Mm-hmm.
No, I totally agree. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And if there's one more thing I could say, which is a bit broader of an idea, but this is something I've been thinking about a lot, is like when it comes to the general conversation of music or in art, when it comes to separating the artist from the art, I think there's two things. One, I think if you say so-and-so's art is good, but they're also an abuser, I think you can say both of those, right? Like you could, people will disagree with me on this, but I feel like, you could say R. Kelly's music is good. Saying his music is good has nothing to do with who he is as a person.
It doesn't validate or justify.
Exactly.
That's how I feel.
Obviously, R. Kelly is a bad dude. To put it, that's an understatement. But
Kendall has some words.
Okay, yeah.
Kendall, how would you describe R. Kelly? Give us 3 words.
I can't give you 3 words.
Give us 10.
It infuriates me to no end. And I don't know if you guys are familiar, but like Jim Derogatis, who works at Columbia, like I've spoken with him because I've been working on stories and like speaking with people who, you know, backup dancers who used to work with R. Kelly and like just hearing their stories. And I've done a lot of reporting with this. It's just, it infuriates me. And it's like, the whole thing is that he has money and he has power over people and he knows people. And so it's an industry thing. So like,
definitely
because of who he is in the music industry and what he did for people with his music, people are able to, you know, show a blind eye, you know, or turn the other way and say it's okay. But like, no doubt, like R. Kelly, like he has classics that like everyone knows and like you'll hear it and you're like, that's a damn good song. But like,
I'll never acknowledge it, right?
But you also have to mention that he's, you know,
you
have to understand
right? History,
and something that like
a blind eye.
That Jim Derogatis, who works for the Sun-Times, like he says all the time is like, it's good music, but like you have to understand the circumstances in which that song was made, what was going on in the recording studio, like who this person is and why they came to make this song. So like the context behind all of it, You really have to understand all of that. And so there's so much to be said about R. Kelly, and I like all my words would get jumbled.
I say this every episode because we always come up with more stuff that we have time for, but maybe that's another thing that we're going to have to talk about. I mean, it's such an important, it's such a large cultural sort of thing that we lived through. We saw sort of the full evolution of it. I mean, we were kids when it started, but
Right.
I did have one more thing I wanted to say on the subject.
Let's hear it,
just when it comes to like the general notion of separating the artist from the art. So I think, and I guess this goes kind of beyond sexual abuse as well, but I feel like it's circumstantial in the sense that it depends what action an artist has taken as a person or like something they've said. And again, to bring this back to Kanye, I think there's a fundamental difference between all his pro-Trump stuff and, Joey Armstrong of Swimmers being, credibly accused of sexual misconduct. And that's the fact that, and Jim DeRogatis has said this, a lot of Kanye's public exploits that have garnered scrutiny, obviously there's been like 1 million of them.
Yeah.
It stems from mental illness. It stems from unaddressed issues that Kanye has. And the other thing is like, the summer of 2018 was a pretty a noteworthy what's the word I'm looking for? It was a particularly bad summer for Kanye in terms of press. Yeah. And
I remember
that. But during when all of that was going on, Kanye would have these strangely lucid moments on Twitter, and I'm talking more so towards all the Trump stuff now, where he would give his stances on political issues like lucid, like in a very lucid way.
Yeah.
When Kanye has these like really lucid moments of clarity, he's actually very much standing up for progressive ideals and wants to make the Black community. He wants to act in a way that's beneficial for the Black community and minority communities as a whole. I think with all the Trump stuff, he just sees Trump as someone who's overtly narcissistic as he is. And again, Kendall, you mentioned Jim DeRogatis. I mean, he said it best. Kanye and Trump are narcissistic in like the same exact way, I feel. Yeah. And it's like, I think narcissism attracts narcissism, right?
Well, that makes me feel great about loving Kanye in middle school. Ryan, thank you.
Yeah.
Guess I'm a freaking narcissist now, dude. See, this was like therapy, but it was bad therapy, man. It's not the therapy I wanted, dude. It was
you had a moment of clarity, though. You now know you're a narcissist.
It's the worst experience of my life.
Oh my God.
All right. I think we're just about out of time for this episode. I know you guys want to talk about more. I can tell.
Go on all
talk for 3 more hours.
Yeah.
There will be another music episode, and you guys still will be at the Chronicle when that happens. And so there's always,
definitely.
more that. I will take this time to plug the fact that I am writing a pop punk song with my friends right now. So that'll be out in the coming months.
Do you need people to critique it?
Maybe not critique. Maybe like you can write some
advice,
propaganda. You can write a great review. You can send that to Jim DeRogatis.
I love how we're talking about him because he's just like such a prominent Chicago music figure, and I just love him so much.
You can send that to Jim. We're on a first name basis. It's no big deal. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me, guys. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you. It was fun.
Yeah, and then thank you everybody for listening /watching. Peace.